from an undisclosed location in the Great Western Desert in the land of the free and autonomous Native American people. The 2024 presidential campaign leader names time to return all U.S. land back to their rightful owners. This is the Ben Zion Podcast.
Techno-communism will win.
Welcome back to the Techno-Communism Podcast. I was thinking a little bit more about the 2024 election cycle and my former party, the Transhumanist Party, and the things that they're doing and saying in this election cycle, which is not very serious things. They had a presidential primary, and it was limited to just a few people, I guess because the cops who control that party overwhelmingly, it's people who work for U.S. three-letter agencies and key positions there, and people who work for and have worked extensively for right-wing think tanks, which themselves generally CIA cutouts, and the ones that these folks have worked for are no exception. These folks decided that there was a negative attention focused on what they were trying to do because of the kind of flamboyant personalities that were involved in the 2020 election, like Rachel Haywire, and because of myself focusing attention on the ways in which they are not what they appear to be, what they say, who they say they are, these transhumanists and futurists and techies and the Transhumanist Party itself, and they're not. In case in point, this presidential candidate, Tom Ross, is taken to saying in conversations and interviews that things like the Republicans and Democrats are not prepared for the changes that are coming and are not prepared to use emerging technology appropriately in that context, which is true. But the Transhumanist Party is, of course, in no way better. They are like Democrats and Republicans, not merely capitalist. Democrats and Republicans are not merely capitalists. They are further right still. They're neoliberals. They concoct scenarios wherein greater privatization pushes are made in every facet of society. And these tech people are no different. They're a part of that project. And even the things that they say along the lines of their good news. What's the good news the transhumanists want to share with you? Well, the good news is indistinguishable from the late 20th century trickle-down economics rhetoric. The good news is that if you don't do anything, if you don't say begin to organize or take revolutionary action on your own, then capitalists who have done nothing but exploit and kill the planet historically are going to stop doing that because these new technologies and sectors that are emerging will grow so large that they will have no choice but to share them, not merely with Americans, but with the entire world. And this will be a joyous, joyous thing. And even the people in these tech circles who call themselves communists, who are not, the fully automated luxury communists, many of them are not, who were inspired by Aaron Bastani's work of the same name. These are people who are not advocating for taking any action. Right? They're basically saying, wait for these very same neoliberals who have no intention of doing anything good. Wait for these neoliberals to fully automate this fascist economic system. And when they do so, then you will be the beneficiary of your luxury communism. And that, in their estimation, will happen in a short time, although it's never very clear when. It's always just a decade or two beyond the horizon. And but don't begin to organize or take a direct action to stop capitalists from killing the planet, or to end private wealth, or to do any of the things that socialists have done historically, because you could upend that delicate ballet that will lead to your salvation. It's a bunch of lies. And the idea that the Transhumanist Party and techies generally have some great revealed wisdom beyond that of Democrats and Republicans, when they stand for all the same thing, and they're just wrapping up the same kind of rhetoric, trickle-down economics rhetoric, in a bunch of kind of silly technobabble, is equally laughable. So don't join the Transhumanist Party. If you're a member of that organization, you should leave them and don't believe their lies, and join people who are actually fighting for a humane and sustainable economic system. Because there is virtually no chance of this growing automation, whatever form it takes, having the effect that they're describing in the economic system that they tacitly or directly promote and accept. There's virtually no chance. And how do I know this? Because this very thing has already happened in the course of the 19th and 20th and early 21st centuries. A huge amount of automation already occurred. A huge number of sectors became highly automated, some basically fully automated. And what happened? A professional managerial class emerged to siphon off those resources from working people to create this kind of continent-wide set of firewalls designed to protect private wealth. And so what you have is the emergence of billionaire classes in that time, and a lowering of overall quality of life and lifespan, an increase in instability and income inequality, and the hyper-acceleration of the death of the planet. All of this is no coincidence. This is all tied to the fascist West and this thing that we so generously call capitalism, this thing that these tech people overwhelmingly uphold. And they're creating these narratives, and that's all they're doing, is creating narratives wherein the right thing is not done, and you're encouraged not to do the right thing. And this is done by telling fun science fiction stories that almost sound like they relate to the real world, but they're disconnected from the real world in important ways, beyond just being preoccupied with technology and science, which might seem to be the thing that would make others want to dismiss them as science fiction. But of course, this elitist agenda baked into them and cleverly hidden in them is the real problem. I am a Marxist tech accelerationist. I think that people will soon be joined to common purpose in a way that is similar to that of these other tech pros, but I think that can only be done by uniting humankind in support of ending fascism and ending elitist institutions, and that cannot be done without you advocating for the abolition of private wealth, and you advocating for using things like advanced computing to build systems that can run this world in a humane and sustainable way. And I talk a lot about how things like ChatGPT and machine learning products more generally on this program I talk about how they could be used to serve those ends. But there's a whole host of technologies and strategies there. But the most important thing is don't believe people like Aaron Bastani when they say that full automation itself is something that's going to be given to you, because that's never been the case in the course of these last capitalist centuries. Change does not come from above. It only comes from organizing people, working class people, and it comes from protecting people, joining in fighting for the liberation of marginalized groups, people in the global south, and so forth. And tech people are the polar opposite of doing any of those things. They're engaging in sleight of hand, where a limited hangout type effect, where they say a few things that seem to sound populist, that seem to sound sensible, and they're not connected at all to doing the right thing. And when you press them and say, so are we going to build a public health service to see that this thing that you want, super longevity, is achieved at a large scale? They will always flinch at all of those things, at all of those in all of those key areas, whatever the project that they're describing, because they have no intention of building those things. And as these technologies like life extending biomedical breakthroughs become things that move into being commercially available. Emphasis on the commercially available. This is not something that should exist. That public health should be at the mercies of commerce. But this is something that these people overwhelmingly support, and you'll see them basically just cheerleading for billionaires having these products. You already see that among the tech people who are advocating for their own biological immortality, effectively. That there's no push to create a public health service that would offer these things at scale, lower the price, give this to billions and billions of people around the world. These people are all crypto fascists, literally to a man, save a handful of exceptions. I say this all the time about 1 in 1,000, maybe if you're lucky, 1 in 500 tech people, futurists, transhumanists, and so forth, are not some kind of crypto fascist doing work for this evil empire. And the transhumanists are the very worst of them.